Stop. Have you ever wondered what being friends with a serial killer is like? Or better yet, going into a cell with him alone? Well, Truman Capote did just that. Stay tuned to hear his story and his work. That is, if you're not too afraid. Truman Capote by Haley Brigette. Capote's background. Capote was born September 30th, 1924 in New Orleans, Louisiana, and sadly died August 25th, 1984. He was an American novelist, short story writer, and playwright. Some of his works are In Cold Blood, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Music by Chameleons. He is most famous for Breakfast at Tiffany's and In Cold Blood. Capote's childhood was one of the main reasons why he started writing. His parents got divorced when he was young. He began to isolate himself and was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. In most of his books, he describes the main character as himself. He was brought on many television shows and talk shows. His childhood friend was Harper Lee, who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, but jealousy tore them apart when her book became the bestseller. She also helped him write In Cold Blood. Capote was a man who had good thinking and planning. He set goals and worked to achieve them. But yet, he was a drunk and had a very bad addiction to alcohol and drugs, which that is how he passed away. Over the summer, I read In Cold Blood. Truman Capote found an article in the newspaper that read of murders from a small town called Holcomb, Texas. He was immediately intrigued and knew he wanted to write a book on it. So he packed his stuff and traveled to Kansas to write about the crime. He interviewed residents and investigators and took on many notes. In Cold Blood is a true novel on a murder that happened in a small town called Holcomb, Texas. The Clutter house consisted of Bonnie Clutter, the mother, Herb Clutter, the father, Nancy Clutter, the very popular daughter, and Kenyon, the son who was less interested in the world. Little did they know their lives would be cut short. Dick Hillcock and Perry Smith just got paroled from the Kansas State Penitentiary and planned to rob Herb Clutter, kill everyone in the house, and then flee to Mexico. When they arrived at the Clutters, they awoke them and tied them up and put them in separate rooms of the house. The killers found no money but decided to kill them anyways because they did not want any witnesses. They cut Herb's throat and shot him in the head, and they shot the rest of the family as well. Their bodies were found by some friends of Nancy's. The investigators could not find a motive or the killers. The killers went to Mexico while Dick began to pass bad checks, which got them caught. Truman Capote begins to interview Dick and Perry. When they were both arrested, they had to confess their part of the crime. Truman describes Perry as a more easygoing and understanding man, while he describes Dick as a more arrogant person. Truman began to grow his relationship with Perry and went into a cell alone just to talk to him. They gradually became friends. The two men were tried for murder and convicted. After many years on death row, both men were hung. My favorite character in this book is Perry Smith. Although he was one of the killers of the Clutter family, Truman became close friends with him and Perry opened up about his past. He was abandoned by his family and severely abused by nuns. He was a small man, but his upper body is strong and muscular, while his bottom half is small and delicate. He is calm and gentle, and Truman describes him to want love and acceptance. Truman found out that Perry had homosexual tendencies towards Dick Hillcock and an old cellmate named Willie J. He is my favorite because although he was a murderer, Truman describes him as loving and caring, and I find that really interesting. My favorite part of the book was when the Clutter family was murdered. Although it was described as very gory, I found it simply interesting. If this would have not happened, Capote would never have received the fame he did. This part of the book describes how the Clutter family was brutally murdered and tortured by Dick and Perry. I would recommend this book to people who love to watch and listen to any kind of murderous or horror things. Anyone who likes to read about gory details or like solving mysteries would really enjoy this book. I really enjoyed this book. It was one of the books that I couldn't put down and I had to finish and keep reading. It kept me interested throughout every part of the story. This book is a nonfiction book, and you can search up the real place where this happened and the real people. Over here is the real Clutter family that was murdered. You can also search up them, and you can see their like resting place where they were murdered. You can see all the blood and everything. It's really cool. Truman Capote's net worth is $10 million. More than 20 of Capote's works have been adapted into films and television. Capote appeared in many talk shows as well. The book In Cold Blood won one of the most notable awards for its genre, which was fact crime novel. In Cold Blood made many sales, and it still does today. Then here are my citations.